Hey everybody, welcome to Making It. This is episode 79, and I'm Bob Clagett here with David Picciuto.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. And Jimmy Diresta.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Very good, very good. It's a warm day in Ohio today.
Yeah, New York is hot.
I bet it's hotter here.
Probably more humid as well.
Absolutely.
So I just put out just minutes ago my latest vlog, which is all about what I learned at VidCon, which was a crazy, amazing experience. I won't go into detail since I think we talked about that last week. And then I am still working on the book. It's really that's my main focus for the rest of the month. But also working on another video that's coming out. Should be out by the time you hear this. It's a where are they now? All my projects from over a year ago, how they're holding up, what I've changed about them, what I would change about them if I were going to make them again, and a couple things I had to do some maintenance on, like my coffee station. It's been wet and dried so much from washing it off that the Baltic birch plywood started to crack, and so I fixed all that. And just kind of showing, my coffee table has not collapsed on itself, even though there are so many haters on the brazen aluminum video.
The aluminum welding one.
Yeah. We use the coffee table as a footstool, a footrest, and we use it every day, and it's still holding up just fine.
Yeah, but you can't put a car on it.
Oh, I know, right? Stupid me. So that's what I'm working on.
Cool. I'm just getting more and more pieces of the kindergarten out of the way, thankfully. It's turned out to be a much bigger project than I anticipated. It's simple work. It's just a matter of like squeezing it into just doing everything else that I do. And last night I got 4 Snapchats ready to release. One of them is already released where I'm working on my old truck. And I'll see how that goes because I have these sitting on my phone, and I know that when I make them, I get really good compliments, in real time. And so I'm going to see if that is well received. I'll pepper my release dates on those just so people don't get bombarded with the portrait video, which seems to really upset certain people. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, we live in a day and age when that's as obviously it's not classic filmmaking, but that's the way Snapchat makes it, not me. And just getting work done and trying to get stuff done, and I'm preparing for a couple of really good builds. And once I get to them, they're going to be pretty good. I'm happy. I'm making a couple of new builds coming up for me, which I've been making notes on. I want to make a gun cabinet, which I have a really cool design for. I'm at a point now where I'm prepped and ready for my Canon. I just need to get to it. I'm in the city. I'm not upstate this week, and I'm going to do an experiment. I just was talking to you guys about my raising of the obelisk, which I've been making notes on. I have a theory on how the obelisk was raised, so that's a video that I'm going to do. And I mentioned to you guys, but that was in fact going to be the very first video I ever did on YouTube. I started a YouTube account to illustrate that point. And I put up a couple of little videos here and there, and I had like 5 views. So I was like, no one's going to care about my obelisk thing. But now I have a good platform and a good audience, and I think people would be interested to see that. And that might get me actually some recognition if I do have an original new theory. So, and that's it. Just working.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. Been working on a few things, trying to keep several projects in the air at the same time, which is, hard to do in a small place. Like, it's just hard to have a thing that's halfway done in the way of another video or another project.
Have you been watching my Skype, by the way?
I have. I don't know how you're building all that stuff in that space. And then you're like, hey, let's just bring a canoe in there. We can make a canoe in there too. Let's do that.
Yeah. I'm going to build the canoe upstate. I just had to get it off my truck. I thought I was going to go upstate, but Taylor went up and she needed the back of the truck open for some of her chair stuff. So, yeah, so that will eventually make its way back upstate.
I mean, you could theoretically keep building things down there until every square inch, floor to ceiling, front to back, is full. Mm-hmm. And then, you may just own it at that point. Like, the landlord may just be like, it's yours.
I'll work my way up the next 6 floors.
Yeah. But for me, I've been working on... So the video that's coming out this week is... I've been wanting to do, a shop stool for a while. And actually, this brings me to another point. But every time that I think of, hey, I should make a video about a stool. Then, 2 weeks before I go to shoot it, Jimmy makes a video about a stool or about a bench or about a whatever it is that I'm thinking about making.
And Jimmy will steal your shop stool video and make it his own.
That's right. And get famous on it.
Yeah.
Years ago, I stole Picciuto's shop stool video unknowingly.
It was a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah. But this one is not like anyone that I didn't go looking to see if there was another one like it. So there very well could be, but it's a foldable shop stool. So it has like three legs on the bottom that collapse, like they're all hinged together, so they collapse down flat, and then the top folds up. Mm-hmm. So you can
hang it?
Make it smaller and hang it on the wall. You could. Yeah, I didn't make this one hanging, but I talked about how you could make some cutouts to hang it up easily if you wanted to. I don't have any wall space to hang anything, so I didn't even attempt that. But it turned out pretty. It was kind of an experiment. Like, it just popped into my head, the design, and I was like, oh, I should just try this without sketching, without anything, And so it worked out pretty well. Good proof of concept. And then just been starting a couple other projects that are going to be kind of longer term stuff, and trying to get several of those stacked up in the queue so I can always have something moving forward, even if I'm not. Like, I feel like lately I've been doing a lot of, okay, I have to have a video for the next release. What can I do quickly? And that's okay to do sometimes. But I also feel like I'm getting more and more ideas that I just don't ever get to, because I'm preoccupied with making something quickly that I can get out,
Yeah, that's what happens to me with my make stuff. But, I always second guess my make stuff. And then when I put it out, everyone's like, they love it. So
yeah,
I try to make my little make videos have some meat and potatoes, even though they're simple concepts.
Yeah. It's just, I haven't quite found, you seem to have found the balance pretty well between those bigger projects and those smaller things. I'm still not there yet. It's, I don't know if maybe I'm going about it the wrong way, because I feel like I need to have that buffer of time to be able to start the big projects and then have short projects in between them, so that you kind of have this constant rollover between these two types of things. But I haven't quite found that yet. So still trying to figure that out. But a thing that came up when I was thinking about the stool, joking about your stool, of course, but I've noticed lately a lot of the ideas that I come up with, in fact, it happened twice today, things that have been on my list for months, that it was just I'm gathering materials, I'm trying to figure out how to do it, and then I'm just about ready to start a project, and then I see on Twitter somebody else posts something almost identical, or functionally identical. And I know it's just people happen to think through things around the same time, but as connected as we all are, through YouTube and just all the social networks, anytime, two people put out a project, even if it's totally unrelated, and you put them out in a similar time, it looks like somebody is ripping off the other person, and there's no way around that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out okay, what do I do about those two ideas? Do I ditch them? Do I try to add something to them to make them an evolution of the thing that the other person did, or to differentiate it, or just go for it and call it out? Do you guys deal with that at all?
Just dealt with that a couple days ago. I announced I have a second vlog channel. I'm moving all my talkie videos to this new channel, and somebody's like, "Oh, you're trying to be like Bob." I'm like,
"Oh, somebody told me I was copying you too." So,
yeah. But we just picked up some new knowledge and thought we learned that it would help us to separate different types of content, and each could live on their own. And like Jimmy said earlier, we both released shop stool videos at the same time not too long ago, and even in my vlog video that I just released a little bit ago, I said I don't watch hardly any woodworking videos anymore, because I don't want to be influenced too much by them. And so I'm watching more entertainment and science channels or whatever, and using that to help influence what I'm doing. But the thing is, it's going to happen, and most people are going to want to watch both versions, because the way you do something, Bob, is going to be completely different than the way Jimmy does something, and I'm going to get something out of both of those videos. And yes, once in a while you're going to get the you're trying to be like so and so, but it just happens.
Yeah.
And also we can look at that as a timing thing. like right now, somebody may see both of those things within a couple of weeks of each other and be like, oh, you ripped off so-and-so. But in 6 months, both of those videos are history. Nobody really knows how long they've been around, or, they don't care. So,
good thing, and I might have done it in the past. I can't really remember, but if it happens to me, I would do it. Is just put a link to the other video similar to this. I was, I wasn't exactly inspired by this, but here's another video that's similar to this, something like that. This happened.
Oh yeah.
That's a funny thing happened to me last night. Because I never sleep, so I was up at like 3 a.m. working on the computer. And I get a text message from Jocko, and Jocko goes, "Here's my new video." Because when I sent Jocko some stuff recently, I put in like a few pieces of an ice pick because I didn't have any done. He already has one, but I just as like a friendly gesture, I gave him a couple of pieces that I had laying around in the production line, like a solid handle, a blade, the ring, just to give him some inspiration to do one himself. And so in his video that he posted today, he took my handle, sliced off a piece, threaded both sides, drilled out the remaining part of the handle, and then he has an ice pick that flips over and screws into itself and unscrews and flips out and screws in. So it looks just like my ice pick with a little thread that unscrews and flips over. And so the handle is the sheath. And just about 3 days ago, I was looking at this. I mentioned Tom Oxo Tools. I was watching one of his just like, mailbag videos, and he had one of exactly the same thing made by another machine shop. I don't know if the guy has a machine shop or a YouTube channel. I don't know enough about it. And so I just said to Jocko, I go, "Oh, that's cool." I said, "Just be warned though, the YouTube geeks are going to point this out to you." So I sent him the link to the video, and he writes back. He goes, "Damn, I looked all over YouTube for this and I could not find it. And now here it is, because I looked all afternoon for something just like this, just to make sure I wasn't stepping on anybody's toes." He goes, "Well, it's too late now." So, and I suggested, I was like, "Don't worry about it. Just tell people that whatever, you made your own version of that." So,
yeah. I mean, it happens. Like I do try to call out when I'm aware of that. Like not too long ago, I made a wooden quarto game, and it was something that I said in the video, this was supposed to be a wedding gift for my friend who was married 7 years ago. Like that's how long it took me to actually get this thing made. And so at that point, that was like before I was even like a YouTube consumer, really. And so I didn't even think about it. And it's been on my list ever since. I went to make it, and then I noticed at one point, a couple of years ago, that Steve Ramsey had made this exact same game. And I had never looked at the video, but I knew he made it. So I knew in making this one, someone would call it out. So I actually started the video with, "Hey, look, I know other people have done this. That's not the point. This is a wedding gift from a friend." And I got no negative, stuff from that, even though a lot of people that watch my videos watch Steve's, and so they would have seen that one. And, so yeah, I think if you're aware of it, calling it out is a great way to do it. The problem comes up when you're not aware of it. Somebody goes, "You just ripped off so-and-so who put a video up last
trying
week."
to be sneaky.
Like, "Oh man." Yeah. So I got a few of those that I'm gonna have to like add stuff to make them more interesting.
I'd like to talk about something real quick. So I got an email the other day, and I'm not going to call out the person that sent me the email, but basically he said this other person made this strap, and I'm not even going to say what the strap is for, but it's outside of woodworking, but it made this leather strap that will do two things at once. So this person was selling this strap for money, and this person that emailed me kind of deconstructed what it was and then made his own, and then started selling or giving away the plans for this strap. And the owner of the strap said, "Hey, that's mine. I'm going to threaten legal action unless you take it down." And the guy's like, he sends me an email, and I was kind of weirded out by it, but he's like, "If I had a bigger YouTube channel, if I had a big enough audience, I think I could get away with doing this." And my response was, yeah. And my response, and he's like, as woodworkers, we're not doing anything. It's hard to create something original. We're just recreating the same bookcase or the same bed or the same covers or whatever. And my response to him was, anything that I put out now, they are 100% my designs. So yes, somebody else made a stereo cabinet before me, millions of people, but mine is my design. No one has made this exact one, and I take a lot of pride in coming up with my original designs. And then I was like, you just need to respect other people's ideas and properties, and you can be original even if something has been done a million times before.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, there's going to be stuff you don't know about. And of course, we're all influenced from other places. But yeah, I think if you make that effort, to be original. I had somebody actually last week ask me if he could make my arcade machine and sell the machine. And that's an interesting kind of valid question. Especially when you sell plans, what's the expectation there? Are you expecting people to make these things for themselves and then that's it, or make them and sell them and claim the design as their own? And for me personally, that's not like I have no pride about that. I don't. And I said I would prefer, you cannot sell my plans. The plan is the thing that I create. And if you make a thing from my plans and sell that thing, go for it. I know William Lutz is out there laughing at me because I just said thing 4 times in a row. Thanks, Bill. But that's the way I look at it. Whereas some other people look at it the opposite way. If you use their plans, whatever comes out of that plan is still kind of guarded under their intellectual property or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's for everybody to decide, I guess. But anyway, I respected the fact that this guy was asking, can I make stuff from your plans and sell them to make some extra money? Yeah, of course. Just don't resell the plans with your name on them.
Yes, yeah. I say the same thing. I'm like, these are my designs, these are my boxes or whatever. You are free to make them and sell them at craft shows, and I encourage you to do so. I just want my name attached to it somehow. Just don't, like you said, don't sell the plans, sell the thing. And the thing, I prefer to have my name on there, like designed by David Picciuto. If it doesn't, I'm okay with that. But yes, I encourage people to reproduce what I make and sell it if it's going to help your business or if it's going to help you enjoy woodworking or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the hope there, at least for me, is that, maybe somebody buys my arcade machine plans and then they make one and they sell it. And then somebody else comes to them and says, oh, I want one too, but I want mine to be this way. And then the person that bought the plans is like, oh, well, I can make some changes. I can evolve this thing and make it something that's more from me. It's based on Bob's stuff, but it's more from me. That would be awesome. I would love that. It's not just like, well, I have to go back and ask Bob if he can make a new set of plans or if he, whatever. So hopefully that these plans that we're selling will be a kind of launching point for people to start making their own designs or their own products and stuff. I hope, or at least maybe some extra cash to buy tools with. I don't know.
Yeah. My stuff is getting ready. Ryan, who works in my shop, who's a really, really good SketchUp artist, has done some amazing renderings of the products that I've done. So he's reverse engineered them. Because I usually start with just a pencil sketch and then I work my way through some of the design difficulties as I'm building. But now that they exist, Ryan can go in and re-engineer them and do a SketchUp model. So that is, I said, let's get 5 done before we post the webpage. So he's working on the 4th or 5th one right now. It's going to be my chest of drawers that I have. It's sort of like the tooling drawers. They look like the catalog. So he's doing that one. The horses, the metal horses, the bench that I just built, my tool box that I made for Core 77, and the small toolbox that I just made for Make, the one on the Inventables website. Even though it's there, I'm going to do a SketchUp of it. Speaking
of, did you see Bill Duran's version of your...
Yeah, it's awesome. He made a little tiny
little... That was so great.
It was great. It was funny. Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, Jimmy said in this video about his tool tote, he was like, yeah, it's on inventable sites, so you could scale it down and make it this big. And he holds his hand up and it's like 3 inches apart.
Yeah.
And so then Bill from Punished Props put up a video and he was like, well, okay. And he scaled it down, cut it out on a laser, and it's like this tiny, tiny little toolbox. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really
and put his logo on it too.
Yeah, that's what I said. I go steal the plans and put your logo on it and go to town. Right now, my stool that I made on that's available on the Inventables project page, Zach told me is the most copied thing so far. We've got about 10 or 12 copies so far. In various design evolutions. Some straight away, but mostly design evolution. So that's really cool. So
that's awesome.
It's really fun. So that's my very first ability to share designs. And I encourage people to take them and change them and do whatever they wanted with them. And so I'll do the same thing once my webpage is up. But I'm going to charge a few bucks for the download, and then maybe a little bit of money also for just a straight up SketchUp file, because Ryan is doing it. If I don't know how to do that as well as he does. I could literally describe a design to him and he could draw it, and It looks incredible. He showed me a picture of the toolbox that I made. And I said, is that a photograph that I took? He goes, no, that's the SketchUp model. I couldn't believe how, he lights it and renders it. It was really beautiful. So, and then I just coincidentally, I sent him a photograph of the bench that I made. And he sent me back literally within 2 minutes a rendering that he had on. He goes, oh my God. He goes, you took it in the same exact orientation. I built it on my computer, or at least this one particular rendering. So he sent it right back to me, like with no background. I was like, it looks exactly the same. So, so look forward to some really good SketchUp models from my buddy.
That's awesome. David, before we move on, I was curious how the book is coming.
It's coming along. We were trying to get 15 cutting boards in there, and we're by the end of this week, I will have 10 done. It's been a very fun creative experience because I'm trying to do some boards. So here's the thing. They've been wanting to do this cutting board book for a long time, even before I signed on for it. So they've been gathering ideas and pulling pictures from Pinterest and Google and whatever, and just throwing them in a folder. And so when I signed on to do the book, there was all these photo ideas, kind of like a Pinterest board. And there's a couple of them that I wish I had not seen the photos, because it was so hard for me to redesign it into my own without taking in that influence. So there's one that has like, it's a cutting board made out of bamboo, and then there's 4 spots for ramekins in there that they fit in the cutting board. So as you're chopping vegetables, you can separate the vegetables into the 4 little ramekins. And all I could picture was the photo that they already had in there, and I just could not get it out of my mind. And so it was a little hard to get outside that box. Jimmy, you have a thought?
What is a ramekin?
What is a ramekin? It's just
it's a dragon. It's a type of dragon. Oh, come on, David. We can play with this.
Yeah, so it's a cutting board with 4 little dragons. No, it's just a tiny little dish. Just a little custard dish type thing. And
also a dragon.
Also a dragon.
Wait, it's a custard dish on the cutting board?
So imagine a tiny it fits in the cutting board. So the little dragons that fit inside the cutting board.
Okay.
And so
I think I got it.
Yeah. So the cutting board's really, really thick, but allows these little dishes in there to fit level. So as you're chopping vegetables, you can separate it in there. And so there was things like that, like an end grain cutting board. How to not do an end grain cutting board like everybody else, right? So it's been a fun little exercise for me to come up with a bunch of 15 original designs. So it's coming along, and I can't wait for it to be done because I want to go back to my normal schedule.
Yeah, I bet. Cool. Well, that's cool. I was just curious how it was moving along. Yeah, because I know you got a deadline on it. So.
I do, end of the month.
All right. So I just a few minutes ago asked Twitter for questions, and we've gotten a few come in here, and they are still coming in. This one, it might be different for all of us. I'm curious about this. So this is from Geek Builders from Sean, and he says, what do you do to still keep a private life? Are you ever worried about exposing too much? I know Jimmy's answer.
What, I don't care?
No, yeah.
No, it's funny. I was in my shop yesterday, and I turned around, and there was this young man from Israel, and he goes, hi. I go, oh, hey, what's up? How you doing? He just hung out. He was in my Snapchat yesterday. He taught me how to say some words in Israeli, or in Hebrew, rather. Yeah, no, it's a fine line. Somebody sent me a picture of my driveway the other day upstate. So for a second I was like, is that weird? I don't know how people find out where my house is upstate. I think what has happened, somebody somewhere before I was famous, on YouTube, before I was YouTube famous, somebody at my house posted like the actual address of my house. So now everyone's going to know I shouldn't be talking about this. But so they posted the actual address, like, where are you? And so when it pops up, when people are at my house, it pops up as an option. So some people have tagged that in Instagram pictures. I think that's how some people know where I'm from. But
Gotcha.
That being said, my fans, knock wood, so far have all been nothing but, extension of my circle of friends. And like, I meet people and yeah, go ahead.
speaking of your upstate house, and we can cut this out if you want to, but Kelly found your upstate house.
Creepy.
I know, it's real creepy. When we discovered that it was on Airbnb, Kelly was able to locate it and find it because she was curious. I was curious, and so we were able to go through that.
Yeah, it's on Airbnb, and it's not under my name. I don't want to say whose name it's under. It might be obvious, but it's not under my name because I didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, I have too many things to do. Managing strangers in my house is not one of the things I want to do. So my significant other handles everything, and she does an amazing job at it. She grew up in a real estate family, so she is very savvy when it comes to negotiating contracts and stuff like that. So I let Taylor handle all of that. But opening up Taylor, speaking of Taylor, opening her up into more of my life on opening up online, that is, like, for instance, including her in some of the Snapchats and having fun with her with the chickens. She enjoys it. I mean, she's a little shy. She doesn't really like to talk much about things on camera. But she's enjoying it, and, she knows it helps her popularity as far as her design career goes. And so I have loads of fans want to see her YouTube channel begin, which is something we keep talking about. And she just has her own vision of what she wants, and until she's able to get there, she's kind of just holding off. But anyway, it's a hard line. I mean, it's a fine line, I should say. It's hard to maintain so much privacy, and anybody that meets me knows how open I am about anything. I really don't have any secrets. I mean, there's nothing I really hold back, but there's anything, like, my life is what it is. There's nothing that's so secretive that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, if I ran for public office, nobody would find anything wrong with my past. You would I've never been arrested. I have no DWIs. I've never been into any fishy business. So it's I guess I'm honest to the point where I have nothing to worry about.
The knife trolls might have something to say about that.
No, I'll just stab them when I see them in person.
And you are not running for office anymore.
Yeah, you just said it. That was your stuff right there.
I'll stab them with my wit. Did I leave that part out?
Oh, good one. David, what about you? What do you think about this?
Kind of like Jimmy, I don't really have much to hide. I have fun showing my life on YouTube and really Snapchat's the behind the scenes. I don't have kids, so I don't have anyone to really protect other than myself and my wife. And my wiener dog, oh, he's so adorable. Kelly doesn't really enjoy being in the snaps too often. So there's so many snaps that get deleted that don't actually make it up there because she's like, let me look at it. Nope.
Taylor does the same thing. She's like, delete that or I'm going to take your phone. I get that a lot.
But it's not like I'm super crazy. I'm not Brad Pitt famous. And, I don't have, we just have an ordinary old house on an ordinary road. We're not really protecting an estate, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that you guys both said, you don't have anything to hide, because I wouldn't even have thought about that question in regards to that. I wouldn't be worried about somebody digging into me and finding something about me that I was ashamed of or anything. But I think the protection of just personal space and personal interest is a bigger concern for me, mostly because of the kids, and I kind of went back and forth when I started making videos about well, do I want to completely keep them out of the videos for safety's sake or for just some unknown thing? Maybe they will hate that when they're older, whatever. And I kind of boiled down to I want my videos to be as authentic as they can be. And part of that, and especially now that I have a second channel, part of that means that I show part of my life. My kids are my life, right? And I'm not gonna systematically cut out a huge portion of my life. I'm not gonna just add it for the sake of adding kids to get views or anything like that. But I'm also not gonna completely shield, a big part of my life from what goes into my videos. So, but as far as keeping things secret, I mean, I would like to think that I make an effort to keep my home safe and stuff, but in the time that we live in, somebody can find you if they want to find you. That's the unfortunate truth.
Do you have anybody visit? I mean, because my people come to my workshop all the time, and if I leave the gate open, people will just wander in. And
No, I've never had anybody show up at my house. I've had people ask if they can come, just tour the shop and stuff. And my response is always like, it's in my home. I'm just not comfortable with a stranger showing up at my home. Like if you want to meet for coffee, yeah, let's do it. But I'm not going to like invite someone that I don't know to my home.
Right.
Now I've met people through this and become friends with people, and they've come to my house, which is an entirely different thing.
Sure. I mean, I made lots of friends.
But even like,
of course, we all
see,
have.
I was curious about this though, because you travel, pretty regularly out of the city, and you're always pretty vocal about when and where you are and stuff. Do you ever have a concern about the place that you're not being exposed?
I don't have anything to I mean, what are they going to steal? I mean, there's like, honestly, everything's like upstate is locked up, and I have security
cameras.
cameras.
Steel. It's all too heavy.
Yeah, no, everything I have is like heavy, and like the only thing I really worry about are my rifles, and that's because I don't want anybody to get hurt with them. Of course, the collection costs a few bucks, but if they got stolen, it would be annoying. But that's the only thing I worry about, and that's really has nothing to do with my popularity. That has everything to do with people in my house when I rent my house, because I know like when you rent your house to somebody. Everything is the doors I don't want people in are screwed shut or nailed shut or locked shut. And like if it's raining out, they got nothing to do. So they're curious. They start, peeling paint with their fingernails and fiddling around. So everything is securely locked up and completely put away. But that's the only thing that makes me a little nervous is that people get curious because, the house has like 15 rooms and we lock about 8 of them just so people don't go in them. And, we don't ever make them available to the people that rent the house. And so I'm just wondering, I always wonder like who's like noodling around in those rooms. And at the end of the day, if the house doesn't burn down after the rentals, that's fine. Like the only thing I care about is Taylor will call me and she'll be like, the renter's having this problem or that problem. I said, is the house still there? Did it burn down? She's like, no. I said, any other problem is fixable. That's the only problem that I feel the most is that. I mean, of course, I'm insured and all that other stuff, but that's the only thing that makes me scared.
Yeah, we have taken measures like when because we do announce when we're away sometimes, but we have house sitters and we have we have security, we have the webcams, and we can always access the house even when we're not here. So things have been. We do think about that, and there was a time where I'm like, I don't want to announce that I'm going away, but. It's okay now because things are in place to make sure that everything's going to be here when we get back.
I hope somebody breaks into my shop and cleans up. That's the one thing. I hope when I come back, the shop is cleaned and neat and somebody leaves me a note with like a cookie and says, thank you for all you do. But that
we stole
happened.
Your sawdust.
That never happened. No, there's nothing to steal in there. Like, anything. Whatever. I get quadruplicates of everything anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not worried about the stuff. If someone were to get in and steal things, that's not a concern. It's more like safety stuff. Yeah. And yeah, David, we're the same way. Like, I won't say that we're all leaving town unless we have a house sitter. Otherwise, I'll talk about it after the fact. Stuff like that. I have had a couple of weird things where people have gotten my information and but they've not reached out in like a super creepy way. More of just like a, hey, wanted to let you know that I have your phone number. I'm like, why are you calling me at 10:30 at night to tell me this? That kind of thing. But at the same time, like I have to try. I think in general I do this, but I try to find the best in people and hope the best out of people. So I work under the assumption that people are mostly benign and like not trying to do something bad. And it's kind of cool. Like. A couple days ago, this has never happened before, but a couple days ago I was at Home Depot and went in, bought a bunch of stuff, came back out, put it in the truck, got in, and under my windshield was a sticker, like a bumper sticker. And on the back of the bumper sticker said, hey, Bob, I like to make stuff too. Thanks for all the inspiration, something, something.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was awesome. But at the same time, and totally nice, and like I'm not saying anything negative about it, but it caught me in the moment of like, oh, like I have a vehicle that someone knows about.
My license plate says I make, so I've had people in traffic go, oh my God, Jimmy Diresta.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. So, and but at the same time, that was a super nice thing that brightened my day that person did. So yeah, I try to like look for the best and hope that we're safe. And
I did a video where I made my key, and I made this key thing with my phone number on it, and which I've lost, by the way. I always hope somebody would return it. I lost it somewhere in the neighborhood, fell out of my pocket. But my phone number was covered up partially, and like people guess all the combinations of what the last 4 digits of my phone number are. And every once in a while, I get a text message from somebody that says, "Is this Jimmy Diresta?" And I typically answer, "Who wants to know?" And then the person writes back, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I bothered you. I'm a big fan. I just wanted to say." And that happens. And it's usually, I could tell it's usually a kid. It's never like an adult like us that's, wants to waste someone's time. It's always just like a young, ambitious kid that wants to just say hello and thank you. And it's always been sweet. I get like once a month, I get a text from a stranger.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we got any other questions in here. What sacrifices do you have to keep making stuff? Do you guys sacrifice anything to do what you're doing now? The
only sacrifice that I've been lately making is like real paying jobs. So if anybody's been watching my Snapchat, that stuff that I build, like I in context, I can't really make a movie of it because it's like kind of a fragmented piece of a bigger job. So for me, it's perfect for Snapchat because I could just show techniques that come up along the way. But that's the one thing I'm sacrificing is big jobs like that for YouTube. But I'm more happier doing YouTube stuff. So. And for me to take a big giant job of like rebuilding a bar or a kitchen or, or something like that are things that I'm passing on these days because that just sucks so much of my energy and my time. I'd rather make money in smaller amounts doing something like YouTube that I enjoy more. It's more rewarding and more people in the community can benefit from it on a bigger scale. But that's really the only thing I've been sacrificing lately is just like I'm passing on bigger jobs. In fact, I just took a job this morning, which is a total build-in, because it is going to be a clean and easy job, and the woman is really super nice, and it'll make a good video. So,
David, do you have to sacrifice anything to do what you're doing now?
I suppose I'm sacrificing a steady paycheck every 2 weeks that I used to get, and it's hard to predict how much money I'm going to have. Like we want to buy a house sometime in the future, but that's kind of hard right now because how much I make is different, hugely different each month. So I don't know. I think I do miss the steady paycheck, but for the most part, I love what I do. So I sacrifice a little bit of freedom because I work nonstop, but that term work is different for me now than it used to be. Where I have fun nonstop, and I don't have much time. Party. Yeah, I don't have much time to not have fun anymore. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say kind of the same thing. Like I guess the sacrifice is that you have to do like stuff that you didn't have to do when you were working for somebody else. Like there was this administrative level above you that like handled your taxes and your all that garbage, and now you have to take some of your time to do that stuff instead. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably different. Like this question would be really different for someone who has a full-time job or and making is like their hobby or their side hustle or their, so that they're actually giving up time with family or giving up time, sleep or work time or whatever to do this stuff on the side. For us, we've all settled into like, this is what we do as the day job now. So it's, it's probably a little different. But yeah, a steady paycheck would be kind of cool, but it's not cool enough to. Yeah,
what's that like?
Yeah, Jimmy's never experienced that.
You know what my steady paycheck is now? Is my AdSense check. That's my steady paycheck.
Yes. But I do love the fact that I don't know how much I'm going to make next month or next quarter or next year. I kind of enjoy the like everything could fall apart or come together. It's not knowing what the future has in store for me is exciting to me, and I am totally and 100% in complete control on what my future is going to be. So the harder I work, the more money I'm going to make, and the more things I can buy, I guess.
I mean, maybe it's having kids, but
yeah, I'm sure that's a huge difference between you and I.
Yeah. To be a single income home that's really unsteady, and then to have kids that I'm not worried about providing for them over the next few months. Like it's cool. We're good. But how things change long term and how, will the growth be steady? Will the support be there long term and stuff like that? I mean, it's not a worry, and I don't spend time thinking about it. Instead, I put that energy into like progress. But there is a certain amount of just unknown there that doesn't just affect me. It affects, potentially generations, which I know sounds hokey to say, but how my kids grow up and the things that they learn and how they're provided for impact how they're going to do that for their kids. And that's not something I think about a whole lot, but it is like a real thing. So, there's a little bit of worry there. But I think also part of that teaching them through what I do is showing them about hard work, showing them about persistence, showing them about like dealing with whatever changes, if I were to have an accident and be like, disabled in some way, like, okay, well, what does the rest of our life look like now? How can I change my goal and my plan to still be able to do what I want to do and provide for the family, stuff like that, So anyway, let's see. Have you guys had any come in?
Yeah. So Sean Graham asks, what's your favorite tool and what would you improve on it? And I think my favorite tool in the shop, because my favorite tool is the computer. I just love drawing and doing things on the computer. But my favorite tool in the shop is the bandsaw. And if there's one thing I could improve on it, it would be, and this has to be possible. We have to have the technology to do this, where you just put on a blade and then it automatically tensions itself and it automatically centers itself on the wheels, and then you just go. Right?
If we can put a man on the moon.
If we can make an app where you have to go around the country and look for Pokemon, we can make a bandsaw that you can easily change a blade quickly and it sets it up for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, and I think it's totally possible. Because, I saw something this week which I've never heard of, and I don't even remember the name of it. Key Spot, is that the name of it? Where there's like these places that'll keep your key on file. It's like this new high-tech thing. Monse, my new assistant, showed it to me, where you walk into a store. It's like a kiosk or a spot or like a hard shell spot. And you stick your key in this machine, and it doesn't care what the ridges are. They don't look at it and look on the board and see what kind of, you stick it in and it scans the teeth electronically, and then it spits one out of the bottom. And the best thing about it for me is I can go in there with my star key and just stick this key into the slot like a regular key, and it scans it. As opposed to every time I bring my star key to a key guy, he's like, I can't fit it in my machine. But the most amazing thing is they'll scan it and they'll keep it on file. So if you lose your keys and you're in the middle of nowhere, you go to the store, you type in your special code, and they give you a set of your keys made fresh. Wow. So if they can do that, they can do that to the bandsaw. That's the point I'm making. Just when you think you've seen it all, some guy basically creates witchcraft around the key business.
Well, it totally makes sense. Just a couple weeks ago, I was in LA visiting a friend, and we accidentally got locked out of his apartment, and we had to call and wait for his landlord. And meanwhile, I had to catch a plane that day, and I'm like, oh, I need to get my bags. Like that would have been a perfect time for that service.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but we could search it for the show notes. But as far as I suppose the bandsaw again is my favorite tool, of course. And I've talked to the guys at SawStop. I was like, "Are you guys making a bandsaw that stops the way?" And to me, it seemed like a logical thing. So I don't think I'm giving away any secrets here. To make a bandsaw that has an automatic stopping capabilities, and he said it's definitely a consideration. And then I think that could be a brake that gets reset. It doesn't seem like the type of brake that needs to be, like jam all up the way a table saw's got so much more kinetic energy.
I've heard from SawStop that they would love to make a brake on all the tools, like a router. A router can be crazy dangerous, right?
Sure.
But when you stop something that has so much force, it's where the energy has to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like a table saw is really heavy, so it can absorb some of that. Like a router and mounted in a router table, that would probably flip the whole table around. So it's where to put that energy.
Right.
So that's interesting. I don't know about my favorite tool. I think the bandsaw is becoming one of my favorite tools because it's just so versatile. I would love to figure out a way to have a bandsaw that had a much wider clearance. So you could put like a big crosscut sled on a bandsaw, and that's probably just a space and steel thing. But as far as like the blade, I'd never thought about this before, but okay, tell me why this wouldn't work. I'm sure there's a reason. You guys have more experience with them. Tell me why this wouldn't work. Instead of if the wheels, instead of having a curve front to back like they do, an even curve, what if they had a lip on the back side that was raised up, and the back of the blade sat against that lip, and then you change, the orientation of the wheel to get it aligned, but it's still sitting back against something.
That actually exists. That's how metal cutting bandsaws work. Because when you put so much pressure on a metal cutting bandsaw, you're cutting through metal, you'll force it right off of the wheel. But metal cutting bandsaws have no rubber on them because it's full of oil. So it's metal against metal. So the blade literally rides on a metal wheel with a little raised back on the back of the spinning wheel. So that when you put pressure on the blade will track off center, but it'll bounce against that, the back guard you're talking about.
So why wouldn't you do that for a wood bandsaw?
I think the main reason probably being is that if the metal is running against metal, if it's running against a soft metal like brass or aluminum, it'll just chew it up eventually. And if it's running against a hardened steel, like it's protected with a rubber wheel, it might start to deteriorate the blade. I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, and you can't do the oil. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
and on a metal bandsaw, everything is much more extreme. Metal cutting bandsaw, everything's hardened metal, and I mean that's just my guess. But again, going back to the original question of what is your favorite tool, you inspired me for a different answer, Dave, and that would be I love the machine lathe. Obviously, I love playing around on the machine lathe, and I wish that was the type of thing. I have 2 antique ones that predate electronics, but the idea is it would be nice if those made themselves perfectly centered, and because every time you take something in and out of the chuck, it wobbles if you don't put it back in the same position. So if you're trying to be precise, which I struggle with, and I take something out and I put it back in, and it's in a different position. So if they made, I'm going to get a million comments saying, of course they make that. But mine are 1900 South Bend lathes. It would be nice if you had an electronic, like perfectly centering thing. But that's part of the art of machining. Machinists love the idea of like having to center stuff and look at their feeler gauges and that micrometer that bounces on a dial, the dial indicator. They love that. So if you had like a CNC machine that figured that out for you, they would be like, the artfulness is gone, I think.
I mean, I wonder if like machinists generally are so interested and aware of, measurements and like precision. I wonder if they would even trust that stuff, or if they would go back and double check it anyway.
They would.
And some people just really enjoy the whole setup. Like I don't enjoy tool setup, but I do enjoy getting a brand new computer and like getting it all, setting all the preferences to the way I like, and installing all the software. I don't know why, but I enjoy that process. And so I think it's just different for everybody. Like what do you find satisfying and what you don't. So if anybody wants to come over and set up my huge Powermatic joiner, please do, because the beds are so far off and I don't even know what to do right now.
It'd be funny if somebody popped up from behind your keyboard and said, okay, now I have a reason to be here. Where's this workshop? Found your address on Google Skype.
Yeah.
Google Skype. All right, let's do one more. Do you have one, David?
Let's see. Sure. This is from an email that we got from Chris Elsmore. He says, my question is, do you tend to favor tools you already have batteries for, or does it make no difference to you and you just have a load of different batteries and chargers? I personally don't have a set of tools that share batteries and stuff. I just tend to buy what I think is the best reviewed or most useful for me, and whether or not that fits into a system I already have doesn't really matter.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's actually really convenient is I have a lot of Dewalt stuff, and the batteries are interchangeable. Even though I have like the 18-volt set, the 20-volt set, those batteries swap. They're 5 years old, so I don't know if it's still the same, but those batteries swap in and out of the different sets. So it makes life easier, when Dave and I are running like a lot of different stuff and running to and from some jobs on like in a busy couple of weeks, the batteries all get mixed up. And it's good. It's not like, oh, we need that. So I have like a surplus of chargers and I have a surplus of batteries. So if we're going to go to a job site where we know we have no electric, we'll bring all 4 batteries and 2 good drivers. So 2 batteries from the original set and 2 batteries from another set that happen to work. So that makes life easy for sure. And I'm due for a whole new set. So I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to get something different or what. But I don't know, see where it goes.
I've got the only battery powered tools I have are my Dewalt driver and drill. And I just bought a third battery for that so that I have always one on the charger. That's just kind of a thing I do. I always buy an extra battery so there's always one being charged while one's being used. But I think if I were to buy other tools that were battery powered, I would look at trying to find a system that I would probably be Dewalt. I like Dewalt stuff. Mm-hmm. But I would find a system that had everything I needed and, kind of commit to one. I think part of my hesitation from even buying those is that in the world that we're in, every time we use a tool and you see more than one color in a shot, people go, oh, are you sponsored by whatever? And so there's like a tendency for me to be like, well, do I want to buy another Dewalt tool? So people ask me if I'm sponsored by Dewalt all the time. No, we're not. Or do I want to just like stick with what I have because it works fine? There's no reason to replace it. Like having a corded, circular saw is not a big deal. So it's not worth replacing for the ease of having like a swappable battery thing. So
if you buy new tools, I'll send you a can of spray paint.
Okay, sounds good.
Pick a color.
Problem solved.
You heard it here, guys. Now the battery issue that I do have is cameras. So I shoot with a Panasonic. I have a Canon that I don't want to get rid of. I have a GoPro. I have a new Osmo. I have a drone. Yeah, it's awesome. And I have something else. And the 360 cameras. So I have a lot of cameras, which I know is ridiculous. Don't hate me. It's my job. And each one of those has at least 2 batteries, one on the charger, one in the camera, and then some of them have even more than that.
And 10 cords.
And there's like everyone has a different charger. They all have to be plugged in all the time so that they're charged when I need them. It's a mess. And so one thing that I've come up with, which is not like mind-blowing or anything, but I label everything now. So every one of my batteries for every camera says what camera it goes to on the back. So I don't even have to think about like, well, is it this shape or is it kind of this shape? It's just I look at this table where all my chargers are, and I can see that one says 360 camera. So I just pick it up and
I'm making a note right now. Label my batteries. Do you put a date on them too?
I don't. That would be a good idea, but no, I don't.
And I write on them. It's funny because when I started seeing Casey doing it, I've been doing it for 20 years. I use a Whiteout pen. I write my name on stuff with a Whiteout pen, but years ago, everybody thought I was a maniac. I had this stereo system in my apartment. And it was like when stereos started getting modern. This was 20 years ago. And you had those little sets and it came with like a tape player and a DVD player. And there was like a little rack, about the size of a microwave. And every time I looked at it, I didn't know where the volume was. I didn't know where the up, down, the knob, the shut off, the power, the changes. So I just laid it on its back and I took a big wet Whiteout pen and I wrote volume, power. Those are the 2 most important things. Tape, auxiliary. And I rewrote it over it in big white letters. And everybody would come in my apartment and they go, what is wrong with you?
What a grandpa thing to do.
You wrote all over that stereo system with a Whiteout pen. I'm like, yeah, doesn't it look great?
That's funny.
But that's what I do too. I write on batteries. Like one thing I do is, I'm going to show you guys a funny picture right now. I have 3.
Oh gosh.
I have 3 GoPro sessions, 1, 2, and 3. And I write on them with a paint marker so that I know which one is the one I'm using. So that later on when I go and I open my kit up and I want to download, I can't remember which one I use. So I got to attach, I put each chip in the computer till I find the one I use. But if I remember, okay, I was on camera 1 all day long. That's the one I remember to grab.
And you can use those numbers. I drew an arrow on mine on the sides pointing up.
Right.
Because it's square, so in the dark, or if you can't see the button, you can't tell which direction. So, yeah, I did a Whiteout pen to do, but you could, use the letter the same way.
Yeah.
Or the number same way.
And I did write it in that orientation for that reason.
Cool. All right. we got a bunch of questions, so we'll save those for next time. What have you guys been watching
So,
or listening to?
as I mentioned earlier, I don't watch a lot of woodworking videos anymore, but I do have this one, not woodworking, but it's I want to get into sewing. We've talked about this before, and I have discovered this channel by Arthur Porter, and this guy is obviously an expert at sewing, and it's really good, and I've learned a ton. My big question that I had before buying a sewing machine is I want to do leather. What do I need to know before buying a machine? And this guy has answered that question. Basically, most sewing machines can sew leather, but they're just not going to last very long because leather is really tough. And you want an industrial one, which I can't afford. So I'm going to get a higher end consumer one, and then if it breaks, I'll just get another one. But I don't see myself sewing like every week, so I should be okay for a very long time. And I don't know. His name is Arthur Porter. There'll be a link in the show notes.
Scour Craigslist for a good Juki or a good old Singer industrial. So sometimes you get them for free because people like kid wants to learn how to do fashion stuff, and then they get into some other job, and it sits around the parents' house, and they want to get rid of the thing and just give it away for free. So you want an industrial machine, which is becomes an albatross to someone that doesn't sew. They just want it out. So I see them all the time upstate. And
right.
Even if a sewing machine is very old, it could still be very, very, very good. So they're all worth taking a look at. The first sewing machine I learned on was a Singer that I got off Craigslist when Craigslist kind of first started. And it lasted. The only reason I don't have it still is because when I went to California to do a TV show with my brother, I left it there in his garage, and then I told him to give it to a friend that was there. But it was a great machine.
Nice.
That's my story. I'm gonna push Tom's Tool Room today. Tom's Tool Room, and Tom did a video with Greg of Greg's Garage, and Greg came up with this idea of like making a twisted Sharpie body out of twisted steel.
Oh yeah.
And so Greg came to my house when he was in town doing a YouTube thing with Retro Weld, Douglas from Retro Weld, and we drilled out the two of his bodies, the first two that he made. And he's friends with Tom from Tom's Tool Room. And then Tom said, let me try a couple for you. And now he's made like 50 of them. And it's like his one product that Greg is now selling. I don't know if he's making any more, but in the video on Tom's Tool Room, he's working with Greg's Garage making his twisted Sharpie pens, which is cool. So,
Nice.
yeah. So two guys working together making a product on YouTube.
Right on. For mine, we've talked about her before, but Laura Kampf.
She's the
when
best.
I look at her channel, I'm like, how does this woman not have like a ton more subscribers? She's extremely talented, and she's so much fun to watch. She makes like really awesome stuff, woodworking, metalworking, whatever else she wants to do. And she's got a great eye. So the videos, I think, are just super well shot and edited together. And I did a brain pick with her, and from that episode, I learned just a lot more about who she is. And she's really interesting and just really passionate about making stuff. So if you've not seen Laura's channel, you should definitely go see it. She made a turbo raft. She made a raft run by a weed eater last week. So cool. But yeah, I wish she would get a little more recognition than she's getting. Another video, this is a random video, and I didn't use this as my main one because I don't know if anybody will like it. There's this channel, it's a really big channel called Two Cellos. You ever seen Two Cellos? It's these two guys that play cello, and they play all sorts of crazy music on cello. And somebody sent me this video, and it's like 2 years old or something.
AC/DC song?
Yeah, Thunderstruck. The
It's
AC/DC song.
amazing. It's so good.
Unbelievable. I want to watch it. I want to go watch it right now, actually.
It is so good. It's really good. And the video is funny too because they set it like it's 1700 concert hall in England or whatever. It's a funny video.
It's awesome. And they've got a bunch of like really fantastic music of all different types, but they just do it all with the cello and really interesting recording and editing and stuff. So I'll put that in the notes as well. I think that's it. You guys got anything else this week?
That's it.
I want to thank our Patreon supporters, as always, especially Build, Make, Modify, John Cornwell, Luis Gonzalez. And if you guys want to help out the show, you can go to patreon.com/makingit and support us there. Any amount would be awesome. We also have t-shirts for sale that you can find at makingitpodcast.com. And if you have questions for the show, stuff you want us to talk about, we always are happy to take that as well. You can tweet them to us at makingitpodcast.
Right on. I wanted to, I'm going to give my I love you to the men and women in law enforcement for the week they had this week. We love and support you guys.
Yeah, I second that.
I can get behind that.
Right on.
Cool.
Thank you.
On. Everybody have a good week. Be safe. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.